Hey everybody, it's Professor Parish, and we are on week 8 of English 109. And so this week, what we're doing is definitely doing a narrative workshop peer review on your paper number 2, as well as a textbook activity and a grammar review. So I want to go ahead and go to the assignments page. As I'm recording this, it's Sunday night, so if you've not turned in your assignments for week 7, which would be the textbook activity, your thesis and outline for paper 2, and did the discussion forums, please make sure that you do those this weekend. So looking at week 9, next week is going to be midterms, and so I'll have a whole different discussion about midterms next week, but this week, as we're starting out March, you've got 3 assignments. The textbook activity and grammar review are both due Sunday, March 7th, and then the week 8 discussion forum is due, posts are due Friday, and your responses are due by Sunday. So the discussion forum for this week is just posting your draft of paper 2 and then reading at least 2 peer drafts and responding to them. So it's exactly like what we did with paper 1 when you guys posted your papers, your description papers, and then you peer reviewed them. You're doing the exact same thing, it's just with the narration papers this time. So you've got all week to work on your paper and write it, and then your draft you submit Friday evening, and then by Sunday you need to read and respond to at least 2 of your peer drafts. And I'll be going through and reading your drafts as well and giving you feedback too. So hopefully if you post early, I can get to your papers early and give you feedback early so that by next week you'll be ready to turn those in. As well, you also have your grammar and textbook activity. Both of these are due by Sunday, so I want to pull them up. They should be really easy. The textbook activity is chapter 34 in your textbook on page 521 to 524. All this textbook activity is putting in commas. Commas are, oddly enough, the biggest grammar mistake that people make in their papers is where to use a comma. And so chapter 34 is talking about comma usage. So for activity 1, you've got 5 sentences that you need to put commas in for. With activity 3 on page 523, you use commas for interrupting words or phrases. So interrupting words or phrases means that in the middle of a sentence, there will be a word or a phrase that maybe isn't needed, but it's still there. So I could say, for example, I could have a sentence that says, I ate lunch at noon. That's a very basic sentence. If I want to add an interrupting phrase, I could say, I ate lunch, comma, that I made myself, comma, at noon. The whole that I made myself, that prepositional phrase, I don't need it in the sentence. I just added it. So it's an interrupting phrase that doesn't have to be there. But if you put it in a sentence, you need commas on either side of it. That's what I mean for activity number 3. You're just finding out what is that interrupting word or phrase and putting it down here on the line. And then activity 4 is putting a comma at the end of introductory phrases of the sentences. So introductory phrases are like if you said, I ate lunch at noon, that whole sentence. If I wanted to add an introductory phrase, I could say, before I finished my homework, comma, I ate lunch at noon. So before I finished my homework is an introductory phrase that needs a comma after it before the actual sentence. So you're going to have 10 of these for activity number 4 that you're going to put a comma at the end of the introductory phrase. Now note, 2 of the sentences do not need it, and 2 of them don't need a comma. So for those 2 sentences, you'll put correct instead of the introductory phrase and the comma. Okay? And if you have any questions about textbook activity number 4, please let me know. So far, everybody's been doing really good on those, so just make sure that you get the assignment completed by Sunday, and you should be all right. The other assignment, besides your discussion forum and besides textbook activity number 4, is going to be the grammar review. And this is on chapter 23 in your textbook on page 446. And so all this chapter is choosing the correct verb. And we know that verbs are action words. They describe things that we do. So running, hiking, talking, sitting, speaking, these are all verbs, right? So on numbers 1 through 10, you're going to write down what the incorrect verb is, and then beside it, write down the correct verb. And then activity 2 is choosing the correct word choice for the sentence for numbers 1 through 10. Numbers 5 through 10 are extra credit, so you're only going to get a grade on 1 through 5 in this activity, and then the other ones it should actually be 6 through 10 instead of 5 through 10. Numbers 6 through 10 are going to be extra credit. So that's the grammar review. It should be very basic, straightforward. Again, most of you have been doing really good with these assignments, so I haven't had any need to do any review work, but I just want to make sure that with commas and verb usage, we're still doing okay and that everybody's on the same page with those. Please make sure to follow the directions. There have been some students that just haven't followed directions, and that's why they've lost points. So just make sure that you do that. And if you have any questions as you're completing these assignments, feel free to email me. Let me know. Say, hey, I've got this question, and then I can hopefully help you as best as I can. But yeah, so the narrative draft, the textbook activity and grammar review, the only readings this week. Last week you had chapter 3 in our book. This week is still chapter 3, so if you've not skimmed, chapter 3 is pretty long. It's like 30 pages, so it's a very long chapter. So I split it up these 2 weeks so that you'd have time to look through it and see if you have any questions or if there's any comments about any of the material. And then next week we're going to talk about the midterm. So there's going to be that. I'll go over it then when we have that portion. But yeah, otherwise, that's all for this week. If you have any questions, please let me know. It's pretty straightforward. So far, everybody's doing great in the class. As long as you're turning your assignments in on time, then you should be doing okay. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Happy first week of March. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week to talk to you all with more English 109.